Hello everybody, I hope you're having a good day wherever you're in the world. Now, as you may or may not know, it is Deaf Awareness Week, where lots of people from the deaf community and some people who know people from the deaf community will stand up and raise their voice and say, this is what's wrong with the world and this is how we change it for deaf people all over the world. Now, I am going to be raising some topics of issues and some tips, so if you are a deaf person like me, stick around because I'm going to be pointing out some topics that I have experienced myself, and I'm sure you have too, of topics of conversation people like to say to deaf people, and tips and advice on how we can get through the world as a deaf person. The first issue I would like to raise is people who are non-deaf and how they speak to deaf people. So have you ever heard the phrase, oh, you don't look deaf, or you know what, I've just realised something. You can't be deaf if you can talk, or you can hear, or I think my grandparents wear hearing aids. Is that the same? All of these is a complete and utter no. Do not say these to any deaf person at all, whether they are wearing hearing aids or not. It is quite offensive, and I haven't listed some of the phrases that people have said to me over the years because they are blatantly rude and horrible. But those are some of the phrases I've had said at me, and I find them quite intrusive and quite insensitive for someone to say that. And I don't know whether it's not just me or whether it's me, but I have definitely been a person who has experienced either non-offensive or offensive comments by people who are not deaf. I don't know what the non-deaf community has been told about deafness. I know it's not a very popularised thing because it's a different community to the non-hearing people. So for deaf people like us, we go around our everyday, minding our own business, and when we point out to someone that we didn't hear them properly, or could you just speak up, I'm deaf, say things like that, then some people start to get a little bit cocky. I don't know whether this is on purpose or whether it's just by accident, but it is not nice to say these things to a deaf person. It's not cool. And can you please stop? I'm growing up in a world where people find it normal to say to someone who's deaf, she doesn't look very deaf. I'm sorry, how am I supposed to look deaf? And who looks deaf? Do you expect me to walk into a room covering my ears shouting I'm deaf? Or what message were people given when they were told this is what a deaf person looks like? I wasn't given that message. It's been 13 years since I was diagnosed with deafness. Can someone give me the memo? I would be more than grateful to then point out the issues with that memo. So one of the tips that I would advise deaf people when some very rude people are saying all these horrible and nasty things to you, very biased by the way, is to just brush it off. I know that sounds very mature and very stoic, and you have to just brush it off and go, oh, it's just another comment, it's just another day, I'm leaving. I would advise just to brush off the comment and then point out why you think that comment's wrong, because you should stand up for yourself. I have done this in many situations, and I've said to people, what does a deaf person look like? Or, no, I am deaf, and if I can hear and I can speak, I just have a different deafness to other people you have seen before. So even when you're in the deaf community, it is vital that you stick together and you make sure you point out the wrongs that people have said, because otherwise it is going to be normalised for people in these situations to realise that they can say whatever they want to anyone and they don't think it has an impact. So number one tip and advice, brush it off, point out the wrongs and make it right. Another thing I have recently tried to get to grips to is trying to ask for help. Now, as a deaf person over the years, I have been told phrases like, you shouldn't ask for help, you're deaf, or why are you asking for help? I thought you knew everything since you were deaf. Or one of the phrases I like most, you're a deaf person, so you don't really need help if you can read. No, 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 no. Just no. Just no, please, no. Just shut up, okay? I can ask for help. Anyone who is deaf can ask for help. Anyone with a disability can ask for help. It doesn't make us weak, it does not make us wrong, it just means we need some extra help or some guidance to process things. And when you point out things, it makes it a lot easier for us to go, oh, yes, now I get it. Yeah, now I get it. Otherwise, we'll be looking at you when you say stupid comments going, I wish I hadn't asked for help. And that is the problem. There is stigma around being deaf, and it's wrong. So, my second tip and piece of advice is don't think that you should not ask for help. It is vital that you ask for help. Whether you have a blue badge, whether you have a badge that says, I am deaf, that's okay. Whether you have a hearing aid, whether you don't, whether you have an interpreter or not, always ask for help. It is vital that you ask for help, because if you don't understand something and people are, I don't know, laughing or making fun of being deaf, they're wrong, you're right. It is vital, it is absolutely important that you get the help that you need, whether that is getting on a train, reading something, reading the platform signs, reading the menu. These are all little things that people take for granted, and when you're deaf or you ask someone to speak and say, I'm really sorry, I'm deaf, I need some extra help and guidance, most people will always say, oh, of course, don't worry, I'll repeat the question again. So always ask for help. Another thing I would like to point out is the little comments that people have thrown at me over the years. So for example, I have something here that I'm going to show you. This is mine, by the way. Right, so can anybody tell me what this is? I'll give you 5 seconds to comment down below what you think this is. This is a Bluetooth mini mic. This connects to my hearing aids via Bluetooth so that I can put it in the middle of a table or onto someone's t-shirt and I can hear them. Magical! Isn't that wonderful? Yes, it is. And it's mine. So, when people have stuff like this, or a Roger pen, or a radio aid, and it can be a bit bulky, it can be a bit, I know, drawing attention in on something, when someone says to you what this is, just blatantly put it out there. This is my mini mic, this helps me hear. I would absolutely highly suggest that if you are deaf and you are being given something for the most of your well-being and for help and support, grab it with both hands and never let it go. Because I've had so many people over the years point at me, laugh at me for, oh look, she's wearing a radio aid, or oh look, she gets the disabled spot on a bus, or oh look, she gets the disabled spot on a train, she doesn't look disabled. I'm sorry. It's none of your business to know whether I am deaf or not. You look at me, you don't see these hearing aids, do you? It's a great invention, having hearing aids and mini mics and all these add-ons. Take them with both hands, never let them go, even if people start talking to you about how you don't look deaf or you don't look very disabled. Right the wrongs, again, I know it's frustrating. However, having one of these or having an add-on is a lifesaver. Even if people start to get angry or start to get very violent and start saying things that have nothing to do with your disability, whatever they are saying, ignore them. I found out over the years that being deaf, it means you can play the deaf card to them back. So if you don't want to hear them, you can just blatantly ignore them and then say, oh, sorry, I'm deaf, and just leave it as that. Because 9 times out of 10, when you say that, they'll get very pushed back and they might get offended. However, that's an advice tip that I've done over the years and it's worked for me, so I don't know. But my third piece of advice is to grab add-ons. So whether you need a rail card, makes you, and it makes you happier and it makes you healthier and whether you get a mini mic or hearing aids or anything to help you in life, make sure you grab it with both hands, because 9 times out of 10 what I've done is said, no thank you, that's not for me, and actually really needed it. So I would highly advise, if you are deaf, you can get a rail card. The first thing on the who might qualify is if you are in a receipt of a disability related benefit or have a visual or hearing impairment. Hang on, this is not joking. I was absolutely astounded by this, because most times when you apply for something like this, apparently deafness doesn't count as a disability, which annoys me and frustrates me, and probably a lot of other people. So, before I ramble on and start getting angry at something that I should not, add-ons. Take them, never leave them. My fourth and final issue that I have to raise is standing up for yourself. Now, I know a lot of the time when I was growing up and I was in school, I had to try and stand up for myself, and believe me, it was hard. It was constantly hard to get pushed back all the time by people who thought they knew me better than I knew myself. Most times I doubted myself, most time I lost trust in myself, and most of the time I felt more down than I ever had done in my entire life. However, it is time to stand up for yourself. Whether you are newly diagnosed or have been diagnosed for however many years you've been diagnosed for, and people have started, I don't know, laughing at you or claiming that you are not deaf. You shouldn't be deaf. You don't look deaf. Stand up for yourself. I know it's hard, and I know you don't want to come back at a comment that you don't want to regret. However, if you blatantly just ignore them, sometimes better in other situations than others, I will agree. Sometimes if you ignore the stigma, it gets worse. You need to right the wrongs, as I've said before, and it is really hard. I've had to stand up for myself multiple times, even in hospitals. It frightens the life out of me when hospital doctors don't know that I'm deaf. And when I say to them, I am deaf, you need to speak up, they don't take it in. So, standing up for yourself is a key and vital role to play when you are deaf, and I know it's hard. Believe me, I have spent many years trying to master the art. I'm since to get there yet, however, I'm trying my best. I point out to people when I need to, I'm deaf, you need to repeat that, I'm deaf, and you need to talk a bit slower, or I'm deaf, can I sit at the front row because I need to hear better than people combined. I know it sounds rude, or sometimes it does sound rude, you coming out and forcefully pushing your way, because that's your right way. That is your right and freedom of living and speech. I know sometimes it will come at a cost. So when people start pointing and staring and knowing that you're deaf, and I've even seen people sign in public and sometimes people laugh around them or point out and go, oh, why are you doing those funny signs? Don't ever say that to someone. If that is their own language and that is how they communicate, don't get interested. It is not your life. Whether you are non-deaf or deaf at all, you have to stand up for yourself. Whether you are the interpreter of a deaf person, whether you are the deaf person who is living on their own, standing up is so vital, and if more of us stand up, the stigma might go away eventually. I have never once gone out in public. I have never gone somewhere or been in a tourist attraction where I haven't had the odd comment or two saying all of these nasty and horrible things. I hate that there's a stigma around it, I really do, and it affects my mental health. I feel like the world needs to open their eyes, whether you're a world leader or whether you're the poorest person on your street. That does not entitle you, however high up in the job you are, that does not entitle you to pick on deaf people. It does not entitle you to comment on things like, really, you don't look deaf, you can hear what I'm saying perfectly. That does not entitle you to blatantly point out our instruments that we use, why we're sitting in a disabled seat, why we are doing the things the way we do it. Why we are signing in British Sign Language to other people is the way we communicate. We don't make fun of you, so you should not make fun of us. I do believe one day the stigma might end, and I hope it does for the God's sake, because it's me off. So, I'm really sorry this is about 17 minutes long and me getting angry or rambling on and saying how much I want things the way they are. I know sometimes we don't get our way, and I know it's gonna hurt, and I know it's frustrating when things, when you're deaf or not, don't go your way. But if you see someone who have pointed out to you, I'm really sorry, I'm deaf, I need you to tell me where the nearest bus stop is, or what this sign means, or something like that, just be nice and say, I will absolutely help you. No questions asked. I really hope you enjoyed this, guys. Please give it a like, comment down below what you thought and what videos you would like to see next, and also subscribe, hit that notification bell so you do not miss a video. That's it for now, guys, and I will see you soon.